The air in the house was thick with the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the gentle tick of the antique grandfather clock in the hall. It was a deceptive calm, a prelude to the storm that Maya was meticulously brewing. Her older brother, Leo, was due for a reckoning that involved glitter, dubious coffee, and a very unfortunate shirt. Maya, at 16, possessed the kind of quiet, calculating intelligence usually attributed to master chess players, though her game was always mischief. Leo, 2 years her senior, was the perfect foil, predictable, fastidious, and prone to dramatic declarations when his carefully constructed world was jostled. His latest offense? Hiding his beloved copy of The Shadow of the Wind right before her literature exam, claiming it was too distracting. He'd returned it with a smug grin, but the memory of her frantic search and near meltdown still burned. Revenge, she decided, was a dish best served with an extra helping of sparkle. Her plan had been hatched over several days, refined during late-night contemplation. It was a multi-phase operation designed to systematically dismantle Leo's sacred morning routine. She'd observed him for years, a creature of habit, especially concerning his first cup of coffee and his meticulously chosen toiletries. He believed himself immune to her pranks, citing her obvious tells. This time, she would be anything but obvious. First, the coffee. Leo was a connoisseur of his morning brew, grinding his own beans, selecting a specific artisanal brand. He even had a dedicated coffee corner in the kitchen. Maya had, weeks ago, acquired an identical bag of cheap, pre-ground decaffeinated coffee. Tonight, under the cloak of midnight, she would make the switch. But that wasn't all. While his back was turned during the groggy haze of dawn, she would also swap his sugar container for one filled with salt. A subtle yet profoundly unsettling double whammy. The house settled into slumber around 11. Maya waited another hour, ensuring the heavy breathing from Leo's room had deepened into the rhythmic snore she knew so well. Barefoot, she padded down the hallway, a small backpack clutched in her hand. The kitchen was a shadowy landscape, illuminated only by the faint glow of the digital clock on the microwave. She moved with the stealth of a cat, her movements practiced and silent. The artisanal coffee bag was exactly where she expected it, next to the grinder. With practiced ease, she swapped it for the identical decaf bag she'd purchased. The original, now empty of beans and filled with the decaf, was tucked into her backpack. Then she opened the small ceramic sugar pot. It was nearly full. Gently, she emptied the sugar into a Ziploc bag she'd brought, replacing it with fine-grained table salt. She mixed the top layer with a few grains of sugar to make it look less suspicious, then placed the sugar bag in her backpack along with the coffee. Phase 1 complete. Next, the bathroom. Leo's shower ritual was as sacred as his coffee. His expensive eucalyptus-scented anti-dandruff shampoo was a point of pride. Maya carefully unscrewed the cap of his large bottle. From her backpack, she produced a smaller, almost identical bottle filled with a shimmering, bright pink, bubblegum-scented glitter hair gel. It was a remnant from a slumber party dare, long forgotten in the back of her closet, now repurposed for glorious revenge. The consistency was a bit thicker than shampoo, but in the low light and to a half-awake Leo, it might pass. She emptied a good quarter of his shampoo into her Ziploc, then refilled the bottle with the glittering pink goo, giving it a good shake to mix the remaining shampoo at the bottom. The smell was now a baffling concoction of eucalyptus and artificial bubble gum. She screwed the cap back on, wiped the bottle clean, and replaced it precisely where she'd found it. Phase 2 accomplished. Finally, the grand finale for the wardrobe. Leo had laid out his clothes for the next day, a perfectly ironed light blue button-down shirt, crisp khaki pants, and neatly folded socks. He was meeting a college admissions counselor online, and appearances, he declared at dinner, were paramount. Maya's mischievous grin widened. She pulled out a carefully folded T-shirt from her backpack. It was an old, faded T-shirt she'd inherited from an aunt, depicting a ridiculously fluffy, cross-eyed cat wearing a tiny crown and the words, "perfectly annoyed," beneath it. She gently swapped it for Leo's blue shirt, folding the cat shirt neatly in its place. The blue shirt joined the growing collection in her backpack. She tiptoed back to her room, dumping the evidence in her laundry hamper, a silent promise of destruction to be delivered the next morning. Sleep, she realized, would be a challenge, anticipation bubbling like champagne in her veins. The sun, as if in on the conspiracy, streamed particularly brightly into Leo's room that morning. His alarm chirped at precisely 6:30. Leo groaned, batting at the air until he found his phone. 6:30 was a necessary evil for his meticulous schedule. He dragged himself out of bed, a rumbled mass of dark hair and sleepy grumbles, and headed straight for the coffee corner. He grumbled about the quiet house, wishing someone else would be up to at least smell the coffee for him. He scooped what he believed were his artisanal beans into the grinder. The whirring sound was familiar, but there was a subtle difference in the aroma. It lacked the rich, earthy notes he usually associated with his morning ritual. He shrugged it off as morning brain fog. He brewed a full pot, the smell now vaguely reminiscent of old stale crackers, but certainly not his prized brew. He poured himself a mug, the one with the subtle crest he'd chosen specifically for its sophisticated feel. He added a generous spoonful of what he believed was sugar, stirred it in, and took a long, anticipatory sip. His face contorted. His eyes, still half closed from sleep, snapped wide open. A sound, half gag, half roar, escaped his throat. He spluttered, spitting the offending liquid back into the sink. "What in the ever-loving world?" he choked, his voice raspy with disgust. He tasted it again, a smaller, more cautious sip. "Salt! This is salt! And this isn't coffee! It's just brown water!" Maya, who had been strategically lurking around the corner, feigning interest in a cereal box, had to bite her lip hard to suppress a giggle. Leo, enraged, dumped the entire pot of coffee down the drain, muttering darkly about sabotage and traitors. He opted for a quick toast instead, glaring at the innocent sugar pot as if it had personally offended him. Fuming, Leo stormed into the bathroom. He stripped, still muttering, and turned on the shower, letting the warm water sluice over him. He reached for his trusted eucalyptus shampoo, a comforting scent that usually calmed his nerves. He squeezed a generous dollop into his palm. It felt a little different, thicker. He brought it to his nose. A strange cloying sweetness, like bubble gum, mixed with a faint hint of eucalyptus. He frowned, but shrugged. Perhaps the formula had changed. He began to lather. The shampoo did not foam as expected. Instead, a viscous, thick lather coated his hair. It felt sticky. He rubbed harder, trying to work it in. That's when he noticed it. In the steam-filled mirror, under the harsh bathroom light, his hair was no longer its usual dark brown. It was a shocking, undeniable, iridescent pink. And not just pink, but sparkling pink. Thousands of tiny glittering particles embedded themselves in his hair, catching the light like a disco ball. "No!" The scream that erupted from the bathroom was more primal than his coffee-induced gag. "No! No! No! No!" Maya, who was now reading a book on the sofa, had to clap a hand over her mouth. Her shoulders shook with silent mirth. Leo burst out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, dripping angry water droplets onto the spotless tile floor. His hair, a beacon of shimmering fuchsia, stood on end, refusing to be tamed. "Maya! Maya, you little fiend! What have you done to my hair?" Maya looked up, feigning wide-eyed innocence. "Done to your hair, Leo? It looks festive." "Festive? I look like a unicorn exploded on my head. This is Glycergel, my expensive anti-dandruff shampoo, Maya. This is an outrage." He ran his hands through his hair, only succeeding in spreading the glitter further onto his face and shoulders. He was a walking, sparkling, furious mess. He stumbled back into the shower, desperately scrubbing with bar soap, then conditioner, then anything he could find. The glitter, however, was tenacious. It clung to his strands like microscopic jewels, mocking his frantic attempts to dislodge it. After 10 exasperated minutes, he emerged, hair still undeniably pink and sparkly, but